Welcome to the Great Canadian Blueprint, where we dive into the economic forces that built our great nation. Today we're stepping back into the 1820s to a muddy riverbank where the Red and Assiniboine rivers converge into what's now Winnipeg. Now, Winnipeg can be a pretty brutal place to live, with hot, humid summers reaching upwards of 40 degrees Celsius and frigid winters on the opposite end reaching below the temperature of the North Pole. Having previously lived there myself, I've always wondered what in the world brought people to settle there. So let's dive in. At the heart of Winnipeg, where the Red and Assiniboine rivers meet, is the Forks. Now, the Forks was home to Fort Garry, a Hudson's Bay Company trading post. And yes, it's the same Hudson's Bay Company that's still around today. But this trading post wasn't just a fort. It was the beginning of catalyst for trade and settlement in real estate across Canada that turned wilderness into a city. Now, in 1821, the HBC faced a pivotal moment. After years of cutthroat competition with the Northwest Company, rival posts, price wars, even violence, the two merged under the HBC's name. To anchor their control over the fur trade, they built Fort Garry at the Forks, named after HBC shareholder Nicholas Garry. Now, the Forks was the perfect spot. Rivers linked to the interior of Rupert's Land, a 3.8 million square kilometer territory stretching from Manitoba to the Rockies up to the Hudson's Bay for global trade. Fort Garry was the economic heart of this region. Indigenous trappers brought pelts like beavers, fox, and marten from all over the country, all across Rupert's Land, to trade for European goods. Things like muskets, wool blankets, iron pots, and beads. This really created a competitive environment through the use of trade. Indigenous people became increasingly more reliant on European supplies in order to stay competitive in this new economy. This led to Indigenous trappers facing debt traps, buying overpriced HBC goods that were becoming so heavily reliant on. As you can imagine, HBC's monopoly drew criticism. Its control over trade and land stifled competition, and its debt system was seen as exploitative. It could be argued that it trapped Indigenous communities economically. Yet, the HBC's role in building Canada's economy and cities is undeniable, giving it a very complex legacy. Now, Fort Garry didn't just trade furs, it sparked settlement. The Red River Settlement, founded in 1812 by Lord Selkirk, grew rapidly around the fort. By 1821, it was a few hundred residents. The HBC granted land to feed this small population, shifting land use from trapping to farming. Typical 100-acre grant cost $1 to $2 per acre in the 1820s, but by the 1850s, demand pushed prices to $5 to $10 per acre. With the bustling trading hub, population surged. By 1835, the settlement had 1,000 residents. By the 1860s, it reached 5,000. Homes, churches, and shops sprouted nearby, with the fort's 4-acre footprint shaping early urban planning. When Canada ended up buying Rupert's Land in 1870 for 300,000 British pounds, Fort Garry's land became Winnipeg's core. Land prices soared again. By 1875, prime lots near the fort hit $20 to $30 per acre, a tenfold increase in 50 years. The fort's real estate impact was profound. In the 1820s, land at the Forks was $1 per acre for uncleared bush. By the 1840s, just 20 years later, cleared farmland reached $5 per acre. The 1870s boom, fueled by the Canadian Pacific Railway's 1881 arrival, pushed farmland to $20 per acre and urban lots to $50. By 1900, Winnipeg's population was 42,000 people. And central lots sold for $100 per acre. It's about $3,000 today. By 1910, downtown land hit $500 per acre, a 500x increase from the 1820s. The Hudson's Bay Company was massive. Its monopoly over Rupert's Land gave it control over trade, land, and even governance. Posts like Fort Garry, York Factory, and Fort Victoria became settlement hubs. Fort Victoria, founded in 1843 as an example, grew into Victoria, BC, which is now British Columbia's capital, with land values rising from $10 per acre in the 1850s to $1,000 by 1900. Fort George near Prince George, BC was a supply point until 1915, when the HBC shifted to retail, which also left a legacy of urban growth. The HBC's land ownership shaped Canada's real estate market. After its sale of Rupert's Land in 1870, it retained 7 million acres, selling plots to settlers and developers. In Manitoba, HBC land sales drove Winnipeg expansion, with 1 million acres sold by 1900, all at $5 to $50 per acre. In British Columbia, HBC land around Victoria fueled urban development. The company's steamships like the Beaver, started in 1835, supported trade and settlement, helping places like Nanaimo and Fort Victoria grow. Economically, HBC connected Canada to the global market. Its fur exports peaked at 100,000 pelts annually, generating millions in revenue. When the fur trade declined, the HBC retail stores starting in the late 19th century kept it relevant. As well, the HBC's governance role was significant in Rupert's Land. It administered justice, regulated trade, and managed settlements, acting as a quasi-government. Its policies influenced British colonial strategies, and the 1870 transfer was a cornerstone of Confederation, really giving Canada a chance at westward expansion. However, its land policies marginalized Indigenous communities, sparking conflicts, things like the Red River Resistance in 1869, led by Louis Riel at Fort Garry. By the 1870s, fur trade began to decline. Overhunting slashed beaver population. By the 1840s, some areas saw 90% declines, almost pushing them to extinction. Fashion shifted to silk hats, dropping beaver pelts priced from £1 to pennies. Railways and steamboats brought competition, with independent traders in Winnipeg and Vancouver undercutting the HBC. And by 1927, the HBC invested in fox farms, really signaling the end of wild fur trade. With all this change over time, though, the HBC adapted swiftly. 1970 transfer gave it 300,000 British pounds and 7 million acres, which it used for real estate and retail. By 1915, posts like Fort George closed and HBC opened department stores across Canada. Its land sales fueled urban growth, with Winnipeg's downtown lots reaching $1,000 per acre by 1920. The company's retail empire, starting with stores in Winnipeg and Vancouver, ensured its economic relevance into the 20th century. At the end of the day, Fort Garry was a fur trade titan, moving thousands of pellets and millions in value. It sparked Winnipeg's growth, with land values soaring from $1 to $500 per acre in a century. HBC's broader impacts shaped cities, policies, and economies, making it a cornerstone of Canada's development. That's all I've got for today. Join me on my next video as I dive deeper into the barter system that was used for this fur trade. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to the next one.